First thing, first I want to say thank you for taking your time to make this interview. Take, uh, thank you for all the time that you dedicate to your Instagram page. I invite everyone who is watching this interview to follow you on Instagram. I really like your Instagram because now weightlifting is getting bigger and bigger, and more content is out, and everyone can put content. And to be honest, it's very dangerous to follow someone and take advice when it's about such a such a highly skilled sport. But I find your Instagram page the most useful, and I really like it a lot.
Oh, thank you. I found the same. I found so many accounts where people were sharing bad or dangerous information. And that's one of the reasons I felt the need to share my experience to make sure that people were safe when lifting.
That's amazing. I started practice. I started following you when you filmed with Rebecca Koha,
Oh, yeah.
and I
Yeah.
started practice that fast extension
Yeah.
with
Any
glute
better?
activation.
Are
I
you
do be-
successful?
I do better than her, but maybe she's lift more than me.
It's fascinating, I think. Yeah. I think the reason I find that fascinating is because as a lifter myself, I spent many years not activating glutes. And when I sustained a bad back injury, that was when I learnt to use my glutes. And the difference in power generation was fantastic. And when I saw Rebecca lift, I could see there was no glute activation. And I thought, my goodness, how good could she be if she learnt to fire her glutes?
Yeah, she's an amazing weightlifter, and it's amazing to see those top of the top athletes. Even they have a place to progress and to improve.
Yeah, sure. Everybody. I think with this sport, you never perfect it. It's an art that is designed to never be mastered. So regardless of the level the athlete is at, there is always something that can be improved, even if it is just strength. But normally there is always something to improve.
That's exactly like in a fight, but here you fight the weight.
Yes.
I want to ask you to please introduce yourself to the audience that may don't know you. Tell me a few words about you.
Okay. So I'm a British lifter. I currently live in Wales, which is part of the UK. I started weightlifting when I was 13 years of age. I'm now 40. Actively competed as an international athlete for over 2 decades and was fortunate to represent Team GB at two Olympics in Athens 2004 and in Beijing 2008. And for British lifters, the Commonwealth Games was probably the pinnacle of my career. I represented Wales at four Commonwealth Games and medalled, and retired for the second time at the age of 35. I've had a background in teaching sport and physical activity. More recently, I set up my own gym, but now I deliver training camps and seminars all over the UK. I'm happy to travel worldwide, and I run my own training group from my home facility, which is on a mountain, middle of nowhere, and it's a beautiful location. But I am now enjoying working from home and being self-employed and doing what I love, which is passing on my knowledge of weightlifting.
Oh, that's amazing. I really like what you've been able to achieve not only as an athlete, but keep doing this as a job and making a living by doing it what you work so hard to achieve in sport. It's
Oh,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you.
Um, First question that I have for you is why someone should start weightlifting? What are the benefits of the sport for the average gym enthusiast? Someone who never planned to have any significant performance. Why should still someone try weightlifting as a sport?
That's a great question. And for many years, I have pushed to deliver weightlifting in PE lessons in schools. And the reason that I believe every single person on this planet should be taught weightlifting is because it is a life skill. Every single one of us lifts. whether it be lifting our shopping in and out of the car, whether it be lifting a box, whether it's moving a chair from one place to another. Throughout our lives, we all lift. Day to day, we all lift. And so many people sustain or have back injuries, particularly in later life, because they never mastered the skill of lifting, keeping the knees bent, keeping the back straight. And for me, teaching weightlifting is about teaching people a life skill, how to lift something safely. And if I can only teach people how to bend their knees and keep their back straight, then as far as I'm concerned, I have completed my job successfully. In terms of then progressing into the sport, it is a sport that you can never win at. You can always go further, regardless of the weight you lift. You can always add a little bit more. So there's that personal challenge of how far it's possible to push yourself as a human being. So for me, I love that challenge.
That's awesome. I usually people when came to my gym, because my gym is known for great results in my city, and I'm very dedicated to my work. But some people, when they came to my gym, they don't know exactly what to expect. And when they see someone lifting weights over their head, they said, "Is it fine if I don't want to lift?" And I say, "Okay, my city is the city with most gyms in my country. You can try another gym. In my gym, you should lift, because from the point that you tight your shoes, you do a deadlift.
Yes.
If you put something up on a in a on a higher place, you do a chest press.
Yeah.
And
It's
when
all
you
fun.
will be old, that deadlift that you do when you tight your shoes can break your back if you have no back muscle, no right control of your body.
Exactly. So if you have to just move a box from one place to another, if you don't have that awareness, that control, then you can get injured. And this is the reason I teach it as a life skill.
And even gravity, like it's pushing you down. You have to train to stand up against the gravity.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is why always also after we do some air bike to warm up shoulders, push, pull, and legs. The second most important exercise in our warm up that we do every single day is good morning, because people has to have a good bending back, bending knees, keeping back straight technique. I think it's most important in any sports, in anything, just to be able to control your back, to keep your back tight.
I totally agree. And you've given me an idea for a post that I will do later today on Instagram.
That's awesome. If someone see the sports or hearing our interview and wants to start, how should it do? How would you advise someone that it's seeing this interview, it's seeing those crazy two people that are in love with these sports, and it's googling and it's saying this sport is crazy, I want to try it. How should someone start?
Okay, my advice would be, firstly, do some research. Find a gym, find a coach in your area. Hopefully there is one. But check out the background of that coach. Check out how good they are, because as we said at the start, there are so many people posting information on social media. I think it's the same in gyms. There are so many people who have a gym, who open gyms, who just don't know what they are talking about. So my advice is, do some research. Go to a gym that is recommended, with a coach who knows the sport, with a coach who has spent many years developing their knowledge of the sport, and who has lifters already moving well. Because the last thing you want is to go to a gym, try weightlifting with somebody who doesn't really know what they're talking about. So once you find a gym, really it's down to the coach then to guide you as a lifter in terms of starting you out, getting you good with the basic movements. And my advice is, stay light. Keep the weights light until you have mastered the foundations. And only then, only when you are moving well and moving consistently, do you start to increase weights.
That's true. I find so much I enjoy so much training with the empty bar. I find so much confidence in training with the empty bar, and I even have like sometimes an hour when I only do training technique with the empty bar. And sometimes in the beginning I said the empty bar is too light because I didn't had enough mobility, I didn't had enough control. But now I feel like the empty bar is perfect, and I enjoy so much training with the empty bar.
Yeah, and so many people don't spend long enough on an empty bar. I encourage many months on an empty bar before you start loading.
And if someone is watching this and will say, "Oh, it's too boring," you can do some strict move with a little bit of weight. You can do some strict
Yep.
press. You can do some a deadlift if the technique is right. But I will not encourage people to go into a full squat, a full clean, without spending time developing a good technique and to prepare the body to catch and uh, explode in the right point of the movement.
Sure. And if they are bored with using the empty bar, then this sport is not for them.
That's true. It's a sport that it's having too important exercise, too important movement. Even you use a lot of exercise to develop those two. Is not like a sport that running at a Spartan race is maybe not as exciting as that. But if you find the love for it, I never get bored.
Okay.
I'm 28. I start weightlifting around 7 months ago. I used to train weightlifting, but not fully dedicate to this. And I start because of Christina Iovu and Loredana Toma. Uh, they are two good friend of mine, and seeing them lifting, oh my God, you have impression that you see some kind of movie effects in real life. Something is not real when they are starting lifting. Also, Loredana B winning, I guess, 2 years ago, the title of the world champion, was also pushing me to decide I will go to this sport. What advice do you have for someone who is 28 and wants to do this sport at a competitive level?
Well, same with any athlete, regardless of age, is to master the foundations or get as close to mastering the foundations as possible. But the good thing about our sport is it is a fully inclusive sport. That means regardless of your size, there is a category for you. If you are a small lifter, then you have the lighter category. If you're a bigger lifter, there are heavier categories. So the good thing is, regardless of your body shape and size, there is a category for you. And now the sport is growing and growing worldwide. No longer do you have to be, I guess you do need to be young to start to be competitive in the senior ranks. But for a lifter who starts later, you have the masters ranks. So there's always something to aim for, and there's normally a competition that can suit your level. So I would encourage anybody of any age, not just 28, 30. If you're in your 40s, even 50s and beyond, I've coached people who just want to keep lifting for health benefits as well as the competitive side. And there are so many health gains from weightlifting, things like reducing the risk of osteoporosis, maintaining good movement around the joints, good mobility, good strength. And all of these things can deteriorate quite quickly the older we get. And there are so many health benefits. So regardless of age, regardless of body shape or size, I think it's a sport that can be enjoyed by everyone.
That's awesome. That means it's hope also for me. I my clients are asking me because I train between 6 and 8 times a week. I have a great coach, and I squat every day. I snatch and clean and jerk every day. I'm pretty dedicated to this. I used to compete in CrossFit before, and now I'm fully focused on weightlifting. And they ask me when I will compete because they see me training so hard. And I said, in 7 years. How in 7 years? What the heck? I said in 7 years I will be 35. and I will compete in my age division. And
Yeah.
you train so hard now to compete in 7 years? I said, yes, this if you want something really, really hard and you dare that a lot, you start training and you develop in years.
Yeah.
I
It's
will
something that
maybe
takes time.
I will maybe try to compete at seniors maybe once or twice, but I definitely cannot compete against people who do this for 10 years
Yeah.
before I do this for 10 years.
Yeah, there is that balance, and it really depends on what your aspirations are, whether you want to compete to enjoy and compete at maybe a slightly lower level. But you are right, those lifters who started when they were a teenager, who now have a good 10 years practice and development and physical lifting maturity on you, then it's very, very difficult to compete. But there's no reason why you cannot enter lower level competitions, but use it as a challenge to compete against yourself and each time try to get better and stronger from what you personally have done before. So rather than not worry about other lifters.
What I would also like is to develop in Romania, in my country, an amateur competition with maybe some ex athletes, pro athletes from weightlifting to become as a judge and to have like an amateur event, because in Romania you can only go as a pro to compete. And
Really?
yeah, there is no amateur level. And when if I want to compete now, I my snatch is over 100 kilo, my clean and jerk is over 120 kilo, and this is after 6 months. I will be maybe add until the end year like 5 to 6 kilo between for snatch, maybe 10 kilo for clean and jerk, but that's nothing if I have to compete against someone who is doing this for 10 years and that's his job. Like he's doing that every single day as a job, not having any other stress. And yeah, this is the
You have more local competitions, yeah?
no, we don't. We only have nationals.
So what about in your club, your gym?
This is
You,
why this is
you
what I
can run a competition in your gym, surely.
yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to organize in my gym because I used to organize for CrossFit, like just like a in-house CrossFit competition,
Yeah,
and was a great success. And we plan to do something for weightlifting because if amateurs don't have the chance to enjoy a competition, maybe they lose some excitement. And I want to give
yeah,
to
sure.
people this excitement. It's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Well, here in the UK, only last weekend we had an open competition where people could come from anywhere. So it's a competition that you could bring your lifters to come and compete here. And the standard varies considerably. So there are some lifters of a very low level, but there are some lifters who are lifting okay. But we often have competitions where they're just open, so anybody can come. There's no qualifying total, and it's more for fun and enjoyment, and for lifters like yourself who need an opportunity to have a go.
That's nice to hear. And also I want to say that just watching your story about the competition weekend,
Yeah.
I just feel excited. I feel like I'm there. You presented every single part. I didn't know exactly
Oh.
how a competition is. I didn't know all the things that you have to take in consideration. If you have to do all your three lifts one after
Yeah.
the other because you are the less skilled, less strong athlete, and all the stuff that you presented was very excited. I really recommend people to follow you.
Oh,
Was
thank
really
you.
excited to watch your
Brilliant.
story.
The plan is to save all of those videos into a highlights bubble so anybody can watch them anytime. So those videos were designed for anybody who is going to their first competition or second competition, who is inexperienced and who doesn't know what to expect, and who is maybe a little bit scared, a little bit anxious, and not really sure what they have to do when they get to the competition. So those videos kind of talk people through step by step. So I hope it makes people feel more comfortable when they get to a competition day.
That's a very, very good free content. And I want to ask you about free content. What do you think about free general weightlifting Google programs? programs for weightlifting that people can find on Google. They don't know who put it up there, are just online on some website, and you can download or copy that and you can start training by those programs. What's your opinion?
It's interesting actually because I have something in the pipeline that I hope to have ready before Christmas, which will give people far better understanding and education about programming. But the often, as you said, a lot of information that is on the web, on the internet, is you don't know who's posted it, you don't know what credentials they have, you don't know what qualifications they have or what knowledge they have. And often, a lot of what is posted is very generic. It's very general. And yeah, you can follow a program. You can follow these free things that you can find. And for a lifter who is still learning the basics, who is getting to grips with everything, there is no harm most of the time in following these. However, with weightlifting being such a technical sport, I think it's really important to understand that one program does not fit everybody. That everybody will have slightly different strengths and weaknesses, and it's important that any program is tailored to that individual need. So, for example, as you said, a lot of the lifters in Romania who are at the top level, your Loredana Toma, for example, is an athlete. That's what she does. That is what she's paid to do. But an athlete like yourself who has to work long hours running your own gym and fit training around, the way you are going to or likely to cope with the training would be very different from the way that she would. The support around the athlete to recover from training would be far greater in Loredana's case compared to yourself. So there are individual factors that need to be considered, and also experience and previous exposure to the sport. So if you are new to it, the focus would be on gaining consistency. Whereas if you are an elite lifter, the focus might be on really pushing the leg strength to gain more kilos. So general programs, in my view, are okay if you're in the very early stages of weightlifting. But for anybody who knows how to snatch and clean and jerk, I would recommend a more specific, a slightly more tailored program that suits your needs.
What I also want to add to this is those programs that you see on the internet don't came with technique advice.
Exactly.
And some people, like in my gym, I see people, they lift one next to the other. One is having problem with the starting position, one is having problem with the catching position, and you can develop some bad, let's just say, habits in your lift that will be very hard to correct time after time.
I really wish people would understand that the importance of getting the foundations correct before loading, because I see it so often. A lifter goes into a gym, they make mistakes, but they want to put weights on the bar. And as soon as they increase the weights, then they end up with bad habits. And those bad habits end up staying and becoming big problems at a later date when they try to make technical changes. So important to find the right coach. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you want good coaching support, then more often than not, you will need to pay for that. I give loads and loads of free content on my Instagram page regarding how to move well, good technique. But when somebody then comes to me and says, can you take a look at this video? Now that requires more of my time and effort. So I charge for that. And those people that are prepared to invest in their own development are the people that will progress the quickest.
Awesome. Now I want to ask you about something that I love a lot, and I don't know your opinion about. I want to ask you about CrossFit. What do you think about the CrossFit? I think CrossFit, in my opinion, had a great influence to weightlifting.
Okay, so in my view, apart from you guys being totally crazy, for me, more than 3 repetitions is cardio. So it's not something that appeals to me, the mentality of CrossFit, but I understand the passion that people have, and also why people do it. You know, it gets good results, and from a weightlifting point of view, in the UK particularly, without CrossFit, our sport would be dead. As simple as that. CrossFit has massively revitalised the sport. It has increased numbers from grassroots all the way through to masters level competition. And our competitions now, and the number of people training for Olympic weightlifting in the UK is huge compared to where it was 10 years ago. And that is all thanks to CrossFit.
3 years ago, I talked with Kendrick Ferris, the US Olympian, and he told me CrossFit helped him have a better living, support his career, because now he's having maybe more than ever people who go to a big building to do office work, but they wake up early in the morning to do some weightlifting. That's something that no one ever expect to happen.
Yeah, it's been great for the sport. It really has. The concerns that I have over CrossFit is pushing people to lift too much before they have spent enough time mastering the basics, as we've already expressed the importance of. But more and more CrossFit gyms, I think, are now realizing and spending more time focusing on technique. I just wish that this would happen even more. We see too many CrossFitters with too many problems, and my view is I think the quicker CrossFit change the rules and introduce weightlifting specific rules for weightlifting specific events, then we will have great CrossFitters. Not just good CrossFitters, but we'll have great CrossFitters. At the moment, too many CrossFitters can get a bar overhead with a big press out and it is considered a good lift, but in weightlifting that would not be allowed. So I think as soon as CrossFit bring in weightlifting specific rules, then we will have great CrossFitters.
That's true. And I believe CrossFit Foundation, the company, has to dedicate money and time to education, because now you are a CrossFit trainer with 1 weekend seminar, and that's it. You have a certification, but that certification means zero, has no value. It's even funny that someone is paying to have that certification.
It gives me cause for concern hearing that, and also I've spoken to many people who have undertaken the level 1 CrossFit qualification and now consider themselves to be a coach, and I find that quite scary.
Yeah,
the good news is the people that really are passionate about their athletes in their own CrossFit box, they're the kind of people that I have coming to my training camps. They're the kind of people that understand that a level 1 qualification is not enough, and seek more expert advice outside of it. So just so you know, I run training camps from my home in the UK, and we invite people. They come from all over the world. We've had people from Canada, from Belgium, from Ireland, from Spain, from Portugal. People come from all over to come and spend 3 days with me or 6 days with me, and they learn from me. So I coach them. We work in a small group, but we invite them to come and live with us, and we provide food, accommodation, and the training facility as well. And that's how we can really make a difference and push people forwards. A simple qualification over a few hours is not going to give somebody the knowledge they need.
That's true. That sounds really good for you should put that on TripAdvisor. Like if someone wants to have a nice vacation, that's maybe an idea to vacation. You visit the mountain of the UK and you get strong, you get better at what you love to do, and I think it's a great investment.
All the information is on my Instagram. TripAdvisor, I don't know, it's too complicated for me. I'm not very good with technology.
Did you ever try any CrossFit workout?
No.
No.
Yes, I did. I tried one. I tried Isabel.
Isabel? 30 snatch?
Yeah.
Oh.
Against Sam Briggs.
Oh, whoa, that's awesome.
Big mistake.
She's a machine.
She is a machine. She did it. We actually did 4 challenges. We did 1 rep max strict press. I think she did about 55, 60 kilos. I did about 40, 45. Then we did a 1 rep max jerk, and she didn't, at the time, she did 97. And I think it was 120. And we did that to show that she is clearly stronger in the upper body. But to get a heavy weight overhead, it's much more about technique. And then we did 1 rep max snatch. I think she did about 72. I did 90.
Whoa.
And then we did Isabel.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she did it. So we did the 1 rep max to show that I could lift more. But she then did Isabel in a personal best unbroken time. And it took me about 3 days. I did it in just over 3 minutes, but it was the worst 3 minutes of my life.
I also saw Kendrick Ferris. He was invited in US to compete against some random no names to do 30 clean and jerks. He just died. He just crashed himself.
Weightlifters don't do more than 5 reps. So
that's
when
true.
When I got to 10, I just hit the wall.
That's true. I want to ask you. You had a lot of opposition about dropping the bar, dropping the bar from overhead, the empty bar.
Oh, seriously, it drives me crazy. I mean, let's use this to explain again to those idiots that just don't understand. And I am calling them idiots because there's a lot of people worldwide who attend gyms and are told, empty bar, do not drop it. So you're trying to teach a beginner how to lift dynamically, how to lift at speed into positions that they're not comfortable with, that they're not used to, they're not familiar with. And what if that lifter goes backwards with the bar? All they have in their head is don't drop the bar. How many people have sustained a shoulder, a back, an elbow injury because the stupid coach has said, do not drop a bar? In my view, that is absolutely crazy and totally irresponsible of that coach. Now, let me clarify. I do not endorse dropping an empty bar because of lack of discipline.
For no reason.
It's not okay.
That's true.
To lift a bar and just drop it because the lifter is too lazy to lower it to the floor. That is not okay. But it is 100% okay for a lifter to drop a bar if they find themselves in a vulnerable position where they risk injury. And the reason I posted that video was to show how to drop an empty bar. Because I've just done a UK tour and we went to about 15 different gyms. I worked with over 300 people. And in that time, every gym I went to, I asked a question. I said, do you all know how to drop a snatch if it goes behind? And I would say only about 10% of the people that I worked with confidently said yes. Everybody else was like, oh, no, we're not sure. We've never been shown. And to me, that is the first thing any coach should teach a weightlifter who is learning to snatch, is how to get away from a bar that's going behind so you don't cause injury. And for those people who think it is okay, who think it is appropriate to comment on a post that I'm trying to put out for safety, to say that, no, it's not okay to drop an empty bar, man, they should be barred from coaching for life. Totally irresponsible. And to be honest, if you're listening to this and you are a lifter who has had an injury from dropping a bar behind because your coach has told you not to drop an empty bar, I would seek legal advice and I would look to sue them for any injury that's been caused. That is how seriously I take it, and I really do think it is something that needs addressing, and it should be taught from the minute you try teaching somebody an overhead squat, because there are too many people getting injured.
That's true. This is why I always tell people, like, few advice if they are from another city and they are messaging me, oh my god, your gym is so cool, I would wish to be there. And I tell you, do check this before going to a gym. Don't let yourself impress with some kind of weekend certification. I will not let that coach even train my dog based by
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
certification. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I also want to add this to what you said about dropping empty bar. Yeah, this is why we banned in our gym Luke Xiaojun forever. I'm joking. I saw him
Yeah.
sometimes dropping the empty bar for no reason. Maybe he's too
Sure.
focused to lift 200 kilo squat clean, but squat jerk. But yeah, I don't like to see anyone, even like Luke Xiaojun, who is, I really enjoy the art of his move. I don't like to see dropping bar in the
No,
warm up for no reason. I
I,
want to be clear with this.
I agree, and I think that is arrogant. I think it
It
is
is disrespectful in a way.
and disrespectful.
Yeah,
Totally, and I completely agree with that. There is no excuse for dropping a bar in
for
that
no one.
situation.
Yeah, for no
Yeah.
one. Uh, and even my one of my best friends, who is Gabriel Sincrean, who is also, for me, it's an icon in sport, in someone that I respect with all my heart. He also feel like that. There is no reason to drop an empty bar for no reason. Is no reason for no reason. But I want
No,
to say never a bar in my gym has break by being dropped on a rubber floor.
exactly. And if the bar does drop, if the bar does break, then clearly the person who owns the gym has bought cheap
Very
equipment,
cheap bars.
and you pay for what you get. You
Yeah.
know, I would only ever use a Lyco. This is one of the best companies out there, and exactly the same as you. I have never had an issue with a bar being broken because it has been dropped with no weights.
Yeah, I only find this in a way disrespectful. I never had any problem with my equipment. I have bars in my gym for more than 3 years. I also have my competition Eleiko set that I train with. I also have few Eleiko bars for myself. For most of my clients, I decided to not go with Eleiko, but I assume that people are free for their safety to drop the bar. There is no problem with that, but I want to say it clearly. In 3 years, my bars was dropped for many times, countless times, and never ever any of my bar had any problem by being dropped on the rubber floor because of
Yeah,
someone's safety.
yeah, completely. And I think we just clarify that it's so important to know how to drop a bar safely, especially when learning the sport. And if you are in a gym where they say do not drop an empty bar,
Change the
then
gym.
change the gym 100%.
I want to ask you if you think Lasha will be able to break the 500 kilo in total. This is like running a marathon in under 2 hours. Is a pinnacle of the sport. It's something that people expect one day to happen.
Yeah, I think, and you know what? I think if anyone has the chance to do it, I think Lasher does. You notice each competition he breaks the world record, but he only breaks it by a little bit. There must be some financial incentive to break the world record, because I think otherwise we would see him break it by a lot. So he's chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, and I think he's getting closer and closer. And you know what? I certainly would not say no. I think he has the potential. The question is, can he stay injury free?
That's also because taking so much time to break it little by little is adding stress on your body.
Yes.
And it's a magical number. I would like to see this. Lasha is also someone like him. It's creating a lot of attention to the sport, and I use his example a lot. I have a lot of athletes photos in my gym. Most of them are weightlifter, more than CrossFitter are weightlifter, and I will also want to put a picture of him. And because I always tell, because I have a lot of kids who train in my gym, and people who see kids, teenagers, not necessary kids at 13, 14, seeing lifting in my gym, it's saying, oh, they will never, they will be affected. Their height will be affected by this. And to be honest, I think height is a genetical information, and if genetically you will be tall, you will be tall even if you do weightlifting. And if you do this safety, injury free, what's your opinion for lifting as a teenager, as a young kid?
Yeah, I think it's great to have these role models who are different shapes and sizes. I think my fear and my frustration is that many of these lifters who we're referring to have had doping bans. If you know me, if you follow me, you know that I speak quite openly about this, and I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good that some of these people are being built up to be the best thing since sliced bread. I would like to see youngsters who aspire to be like maybe some of those lifters who are not the best in the world, but who are close, who are clean. And I think, there are numerous lifters. Last year, I believe, had a doping ban when he was a junior. And yes, he's doing fantastically well, and he's he's a very tall guy. And I think other tall young lifters see him and think, actually, yeah, I can do that, which is great. But I think we just need to as well be mindful of what it is to be a good role model. And I would love to see other names being used of athletes that we know that are clean.
That's true. You are also opening my last question, because you also talk very open about doping problem in the sport. And for me, honest, I don't know how to address this. When someone is asking me, do you think but he is taking drugs, and or when was this situation with the less than 2 hour marathon, I put video, the highlight in my gym to educate people about what long distance running means, who is the best now in the world to this. I like to educate people about every sport. Gymnastic is a beautiful sport. Running, athleticism is a beautiful sport. Lifting weights is a beautiful sport. People has to appreciate Olympic discipline in general. And everyone is saying, but he's on steroids. What do you think about the new anti-doping system for weightlifting? Because they change it to be able to keep weightlifting as an Olympic sport.
Yeah, I think there's big progress. I think forcing lifters to compete, I believe it is 6 times over 3 trimesters, means that lifters are now have to be exposed to drug testing, which is only a good thing. I still don't think it has gone far enough. And if you ask me, is the sport now suddenly clean? Hell no. Is it ever going to be clean? No. Not when Russia are allowed to come back in after just a short ban. Are Russian lifters now clean? I think they probably are a lot cleaner than they were. However, they've gone through however many years of abusing the system and gaining the physiological benefits that training with the support of drugs allows, that they are never going to be competing on a fair level.
That's true.
Because their bodies have already adapted and they've had the benefits of training with performance enhancing drugs. So if you then look at a clean lifter trying to be competitive, they're always playing catch up. And even though those lifters might be clean now, they still get back to about 90% fitness. And that would potentially not have even happened if they hadn't used drugs. So my view is, if you've got an athlete who is taking drugs and who is caught, ban them for 10 years. I get the human rights thing and you can't ban them for life. All right, ban them for 10 years. That will finish their career. That's a really serious ban. And that is more than enough to deter people. And if people still want to cheat, then kick them out. Strip them of everything they've ever won, every title they've ever won, every world record they've ever broken. That kind of sanction is the only way that we have a chance of cleaning up this sport. But going back to your question, what do I think of the current procedure? I think it is better, but I certainly don't think it goes far enough. and I would like to see those countries that have had big sanctions against them to be forced to pay significant fines on top of that. But more importantly, for that money to be reinvested into making anti-doping even stricter, rather than lining the pockets of a lot of those people in high positions in the IWF, which is what currently happens. Fact.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know if they are doing also a polygraph test. I would recommend for important competition to do polygraph test. I would also recommend to ban the coach, because I know in my country our coach who had athletes banned, but they are keep training others, and what they are doing, they are keep putting steroids in someone else, aiming to the medal, aiming to the world title, and they are sacrifice the athlete. Sometimes the athlete
Yeah.
has no fault. I don't put the responsibility of doping in the athlete hand. I think it's more about the coach.
I think that in some countries, so for example, if this happened in Great Britain, I would put the responsibility with the athlete.
Okay, because it's so easy to buy from
based on the culture here. If somebody is going to cheat, it is more likely to be an athlete than a coach, because the coaches generally here follow the rules and are pretty good. However, if we switch to Russia, for example,
yeah,
and I think we can clearly use that as an example,
yeah,
I think it's fair to say that this was a highly administered, effective process that wasn't run by the athletes. It was run by coaching staff, doctors, and people.
by
Even
government almost. It was
yeah,
like
absolutely.
an organized country plan, like a war, to show that we are the best as a nation and we are gonna win in everything because we are Russians.
Okay, so let me put a question to you, Loredana Toma.
Yes.
Who is to blame, athlete or coach?
She's my favorite athlete all time. I cannot say anything. No, ask me
There's,
anyone else.
there's the question, and that is the reality of the sport.
I don't know.
It's difficult. It's difficult. And you
Oh,
know what? I love watching Loredana Toma. I
yeah.
really do. I think she, as an athlete, I think she has things she can work on and improve on, and she is doing extremely well. But she's cheated.
It's happening. Like you asked me the hardest question someone can
Yeah.
ask me.
And I've asked that question
Yeah,
because because there's no simple answer.
that's true.
And
Whatever I will say is just bullshit
well,
because
it's bullshit.
yeah,
But
that's
who
that's the
should pay
fact.
the price? She had a 2-year ban. What sanction did the coach get? Was the coach involved? Is it fair to sanction a coach when maybe the coach wasn't involved? So I don't think there is a straight answer to this.
I really believe always. This is just my opinion. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking in general. In Romania, I think it's when this is happening in any sports. I don't talk specifically about her, about weightlifting. In any, if
It's
this is
difficult. I
happening
understand.
in any Olympic sport in Romania, I think is the coach. I don't
Okay.
think the athletes is having
Yeah.
enough courage to go to a drug dealer, because you cannot. It's not like in UK. In UK, I think you can buy a lot of steroids from like commercial, like from a
I think.
how you call that, from a pharmacy.
Yeah. And I don't know about pharmacy, but it wouldn't be difficult to get your hands on stuff.
Yeah, in
Uh,
Romania you have to buy from some suspicious people, and it's not that easy.
yeah. Okay. Well, look. I mean, I think the problem is when an athlete has failed a drugs test, then their name is there to be used, and that is the reason I throw that
Yeah, you
example.
are talking very openly
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah, and that's the sport. And
Yeah.
is the sport clean? No. Those athletes that have cheated still, even now, even if they are clean, will have unfair
Yes,
advantages.
that's true.
And I personally would like to see the sanctions far more severe so that those athletes do not come back.
That's true. That's true. It's one to achieve 90% of your max potential in 4 years. It's something else to achieve 90% of your max in 30 years, risking 30 years of training, risking 30 years of a life challenge and ups and downs. and definitely someone who is just getting better very very fast will have higher chance to just take you at everything and always be on top of you. It's
Yeah.
definitely unfair. And as I said, this is why I stopped competing in CrossFit. CrossFit is a pro doping sports. Like in CrossFit, no one is tested, and they are saying they test at from a level they start testing you. That's not true.
No, I agree.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always tell this to guys. I'm
Yeah.
not someone very gifted as an athlete. I'm more to an intellectual part. It's easier for me to read for 5 hours than to lift heavy weights. I work hard to improve my score in weightlifting, but I squat every day. I
Yeah.
do clean and jerk and snatch every day. If you see a woman who is significant bigger than me as a man, if I flex my legs, and it's not about the body fat, it's just about the size of the muscle. If you see a woman with significant, like 30% bigger muscle legs than me, bigger back than me, bigger shoulder than me, that's
You're describing one or two Russians there.
yeah, that's and biological impossible because I was
Yeah.
born as a man, she was born as a girl. We can no
Totally.
longer talk about anything else than she must be on some kind of a testosterone that I also was born with, and is
Yeah.
no way we can compare these two. It's clear. Those was my 10 question that I had for you. I really
Thank you.
enjoy this time talking with you. I think you are the nicest coach I ever saw on the internet. We never had a chance to meet, but this sports is pretty intimidating. If you watch those crazy athletes, they are always very serious, very dedicated, and must be intimidating for new people. But the
Yeah.
way you teach, it's so nice. I would like to. I plan to find a way to someone replace me to the gym, and maybe next year to came in a camp to you to train with you because you are just the nicest coach I ever saw on the internet.
Oh, that'd be lovely. We would welcome you here anytime. And if you want to organise for me to come to your gym and run a seminar, then just let me know.
Yeah, that's also amazing, and we are gonna keep in touch. And thank you for your time. Was an
No
amazing time.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.